Greetings, everybody, and welcome once more to Inspire SA. Firstly, I would like to wish everyone a happy New Year's and a very big welcome to this new year with filled of more exciting things that we can't wait to get started with. A lot of challenges from last year where we launched the channel, Inspire SA, and who just as you just wake up and you just look, oh, right now it's like it's like yesterday where we created the channel and now we launched the channel and now it's been like 1 year. How time flies, basically. That's what I wanted to say. But yeah, a very big welcome to Inspire SA, the year 2022. A big welcome from the Inspire SA team and the ambassador team as well. And yeah, we can't wait to continue inspiring people with technology, and we can't wait to keep on doing what we love, basically. Yeah, so basically, there's a lot of things to look ahead for. We're going to have more exciting guests coming along the show, and there's also going to be more exciting content that we'll be covering throughout the coming weeks. And speaking of which, for today's session, we're going to be focusing on text translator on Azure, basically creating our own translator using the Microsoft Azure service, basically. So, yeah, without wasting any more time, let's get started. So yeah, as usual, first things first is to start with the theory because without the theory, we can't do anything. We have to understand what we're doing first, basically. So before we do that, we just like a quick recap for those who are coming into or joining into the show for the first time. Just this quick recap is for you. So if you want to get more information, you can go back to the same episode or the previous episode with the same title. You find out more information about it, basically. So natural language processing introduction, right? What is NLP or natural language processing? So basically, in a nutshell, natural language processing is a mean or form of communication between our devices and as human beings. It's a mean of communication, basically. So it's a way of communication between our devices, our smart devices, and us human beings. So things like Siri, Google Assistants, etc. Those are form of communication that we can use to communicate to our device to tell it what to do, etc. So it's basically the way our devices communicate to us and we communicate to it as well. So that's why basically natural language processing is a form of communication between our devices and us human beings, basically in a nutshell. Right. So the key element of natural language processing is it allows us to analyze and interpret text. It interprets spoken languages. It automatically translates spoken or written languages and interprets commands and determines appropriate actions. Like I said, the Google Assistant or Alexa, or while we can just say switch on the light or play music, it's gonna play. Why? Because of natural language processing, basically. That's what it involves. So that's what natural language processing includes these four main features that I've just spoke about and explained right now. But for more information, please go back to the previous episode where we covered extensively on this session alone, on this topic alone, basically. So moving on, right? We're going to be looking at natural language processing on Microsoft Azure. So there's text analysis, translator text, speech, and Lewis language understanding intelligence servers. So for the past 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we've covered text analytics. We've seen how to analyze text using AI. And now for today's session, we'll be starting with translator text. So basically creating our own translator, as I said at the beginning. And if we read correctly, it says we use this service to translate text between more than 60 languages. And we'll get to see what those languages include, basically. So let's get started. Getting started with text translator on Azure. That's today's session. So what is a translator? So in normal English, right? Translator is basically someone who translates from one language to another. They usually do it as a job, so we know that that is a translator, someone who does that. But now we are talking about a machine. We're talking about AI. So what does it mean in the form of AI, basically? So it's a cloud-based neural machine translation service that is part of the Azure Cognitive family of REST APIs, and the translator can be used with any operating system and it powers Microsoft products and services used by thousands of businesses worldwide to perform language translation and other language-related operation. So basically, it's a name of a tool or a service or a neural machine translation which is used by the Microsoft products to translate languages, basically, or translate from one language to another. So that is what a translator is, right? We know it as a human on a human form, but now we're talking about a machine, basically. And what is translation? I spoke about it in the definition. The translation is an act or process or instance of rendering from one language into another, or from going from one language to another. As I said, that's what the translator does. It puts one language to another, one language to another, right? So yeah, so that's what a translator is, right? So what there are three features that a translator consists of, right? It consists of text translation, document translation, and custom translation. We'll take a look at these three features as we go on. The text translator translation, as you can see, it executes translation between one language in real time. Basically, you just put like a sentence or word, it's going to translate it for you. Basically, it's going to translate for you, right? And then document translation, it translates a whole document or a whole file while keeping the integrity and the structure and the format of the original document, but at the same time it translates the whole language or from one language to another. Let's say it was in English, it changes it to French or Swahili or Zulu, but it preserves the same document and the same integrity as you put it there before. That's what document translation does. And then custom translator, you customize it for your business, for a specific project that you're doing, or for you can add any terminologies that you want. So basically, that is custom translator. What it's about, you customize it, the translator to do what you want, basically. So let's continue, right? The document translation, right? So we'll be talking about document translation. So as I mentioned at the beginning, that the document translation is a feature that allows you to translate a whole document as a whole without putting one word or sentence by sentence by sentence by sentence by sentence by sentence. It allows you to translate a whole document as a whole while preserving the data format and the structure as you originally put it, basically without any changes. So if, like I said, if it's in Afrikaans, it's gonna change it to English without changing anything, right? It's gonna put all the Afrikaans words into English, and all the footsteps that's supposed to be, will put it into English without changing anything. So instead of you doing one by one or typing it all by yourself, it does it for you. All you do is just upload the document, and it's gonna do the translation by itself. That's what document translation is all about, right? So what are some of the features of document translation? It can translate large files. It can translate numerous files. It preserves the source file presentation. So as you put it there, it's going to keep the same. It's going to keep it. It's going to preserve it. But the only change that's going to be is the translation of the document from one language to another. You can also apply custom translation. You can apply custom glossaries. We're going to get to that. Detect document language, so what language was written or what languages are in the folder or the file that you're using, and translate document with content in multiple languages, so you can put more than one language in the translation. So these are some of the features that document translation has, right? Now we're going to take a look at the format of the supported. We're going to take a look at the formats of supported documents that document translation can have, of supports, basically, right? So it supports PDF, CSV, HTML files. You can translate HTML, location, Markdown, Microsoft Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, Word, it has a lot of support. It can support basically any type of document, as you can see from this list over here. TXT, rich text format, as I said, Microsoft Word, open documents, etc. As you can see, so you just look if your document that you have is supported for the document translation, right? And moving forward, we're now going to move on to what is a custom translator. So as I said, custom translator is basically a feature that Microsoft Azure has that enables you to customize your own translation. So basically, the two translations that we talked about, text translator and document translator, it's already there. You're just using what's already there, what's already been given to you, right? But you can't do anything besides that. You only can use. But now with custom translator, you customize it to do whatever you want. So if you want to add a specific word, if you want to change this specific sentence or change this specific phrase, you can do that because you're customizing it and you can use it specifically for what you want, whether it's for your job, whether if it's your business, whether it's for a side project, whether it's for an app that you want to make, you can customize it to do that fitting basically. So that's what custom translator is all about, right? So now, what are some of the features that is there in custom translator? There's you can apply neural machine translation technology, build systems that knows your business terminology. So now there's like a bit in your business, you have some special way of speaking to each other, and nobody knows what it means. But you can create a dictionary or a translator that can translate so people can understand what you're talking about. Use a dictionary to build your models. We get to that. You can collaborate with others and access your custom translation model. So you can access it for your application, for your website, whatever may be the case, right? So we're about to get to the end. So here are some of the things to note, right? So now, as I said, it supports over 60 languages, right? So now there are a few things to note, right? So translation is available for all the languages that Microsoft has, right? So translation, it can translate in all the languages that's available in Microsoft Azure, right? Um, my apologies for that. Um, so yeah, things to note and to remember. So as I said, since you're dealing with translation, you can use it in anyhow. Um, yeah. So things to note, right? So translation, you can use it for all the supported languages on Microsoft Azure. So whether you're using for application or Microsoft Azure, you can use it for all the supported languages on Microsoft Azure for text translation and document translation. But now let's say you're dealing with a container or on Docker, for example. So not all languages are supported for Docker or container that you're using, basically. So there are supported languages for those containers specifically. For custom translator, you can use, as it says, can be used to create customized translation with models. You can customize your translated output while using the text translation document features. So basically, custom translation, you can also use all the supported languages that are available, but at the same time, you can customize it for your fitting or for what you needed to do, basically. And then also auto language detection is supported for all the languages, and a dictionary as well, supported for all the languages as well. Moving on. So what are some of the supported languages? So this is a list of all supported languages. I couldn't capture it all on the screen. I'm gonna go to the website for you to see. So it starts from Afrikaans all the way to the other language. I don't know you like there's a lot of languages, but from Afrikaans to the last language that's on the list. And these are all the supported languages that are available on Microsoft Azure. But then there's only one sad thing that I realized when looking at these languages. There's no Zulu. I can't believe there's no Zulu in these supported languages. So it's up to us basically to add Zulu onto this list so we can also translate to Zulu or from Zulu to English or to other languages that we want. So these are some of the supported languages that are available. So language code, AF for Afrikaans, and then cloud text translation. So it tells you which features it's available for. When I take a look at it on the website. So now there's a new feature called transliteration. I don't know if I'm pronouncing correctly. So what is transliteration? So transliteration is a type of conversion from a text from one script to another that involves swapping of letters. As you can see in Greek, this is the letter alpha, and then in English it's A. This is Cyrillic, that's the letter, the symbol, and then that's the letter D in English. So now there are some languages that involve certain characters, etc., and we can't really have it in the English dictionary. So with transliteration, it enables us to do that. So convert like a certain word into the English or to something understandable. I'll show you an example right now. So for example, this is the Greek word, the transliteration of it, and then the English translation, Hellenic Republic. For this one, I don't know how to pronounce it in Greek, but in English, it's of the sons. So you can see that the letters have been swapped around, basically. So that is transliteration, and this is one of the features of text translation. So now I spoke about the dictionary. So as you all know, when you're translating from one language to another, right, you have to have a dictionary. So the same thing with AI, it also has to have some kind of dictionary for it to make reference or for it to find the correct word. So now there's also a dictionary that the text translator uses, and you can access this dictionary by using this API key to access the dictionary. So yeah, there's the request URL for it, and I captured some examples. For example, I put the word fly. So I want fly, and this is Spanish. In Spanish, it's vola. And now by putting the URL key, these are the results that came. They need machines to fly, and it's translated into Spanish. So basically, it's English and Spanish, and it tells me all the possibilities that I can get from the dictionary, and I can choose the best one, right? So again, fly, vola, they tell me it's a verb, how confident it is, and then they tell me other examples that I can use: fly, flying, blow, flight, and then they tells me again in Spanish, mosca, mosca. Like I don't know Spanish, I don't know if I'm pronouncing correctly, but this is an example of the dictionary. As I said, as we know that we have to use a dictionary for us to know for us to translate from one language to another. So for us to make reference, the same thing with AI as well. So that's the end, right? So now we're just going to quickly move on to Visual Studio and quickly create a small application to end off today's episode. So we're going to be using a console application, text translator. That's what I'm going to name it as. So basically, as I said at the beginning, this is so basically the text translator and the document translator, it's already there available on Microsoft Azure. All you have to do is just call upon it, and ask for what you need, and it's going to provide it for you. You can't edit it, you can't do anything with it. You just use it as it is. You use what is there, you use what is provided, and you use it as it is, as I mentioned earlier on. So we're going to create a quick application right now to end off the episode. Text translation. Text translation. Waiting for Visual Studio. So there you go. Visual Studio is just opened up right now. And now the first thing that we're gonna do is to go to before that, let me put it on GitHub. So again, to put it on a GitHub repository, I can go to GitHub itself, or I can just come here to the corner and say add to source control. Right? I can just simply do that, add to source control. Click add to source control, add Git. We're adding Git, so you can find this application that I'm making on a GitHub repository, right? Local path, I don't want it to be private. I don't want it to be private, and then create and push. So you can find this application on our GitHub repository. We'll take a look at it right now. So after doing that, we're now going to move on to NuGet package. Go to our NuGet package, and we're going to add a NuGet package to our application, because we're going to be needing it. NuGet package, and we're going to be dealing with JSON. We're going to be dealing with JSON to get our languages, or the results of our languages, basically. So I'm going to add JSON to our application, right? I'm going to add JSON to application. It's been added already, and now let's write some code. So I already have the code. Yeah, I already have the code. So before that, I even forgot. We have to go to Azure. We can't do anything without going to Azure. So I've created our application, and now we're going to Azure to create our translator resource. We create our translator resource. Translator resource. So I'm on Azure. Let me zoom in a bit. So I'm on Azure. And then, as you can see, if I search translator, it's going to pop up like this. All right, TRA is going to pop up like that. And I quickly select translator. So this is the cognitive service, right? So now the cognitive service for translator. So I already created it, but let's say there's nothing created. I'm just going to click create over there. Create. It's loading. And then you start filling in the information. So you're gonna put in your resource group. If you don't have a resource group, you're gonna create a resource group. Or if you have an existing resource group, you're gonna select the existing resource group. So I selected cognitive stuff because that's where I put all my AI stuff. And then I'm gonna select my region, which is West Europe. And then I'm gonna name it text translator test. Text translator test, right? And then the passing tier, you're gonna select F0. F0. You're gonna select F0. So if you read this notification here, it says that the free tier for this resource is already used by my subscription, therefore will not appear in the drop down. So I've already selected it, but that's why it's not appearing right now. But now in your one, when you're selecting it, you're gonna choose F0, and you're gonna click next, and it's gonna create. Simple as that. If everything's done correctly, it's gonna create, right? It's gonna create the resources, and there's the resource that I've created. The text translator resource that I've created. That's what we're gonna use to make our application, basically. So now after your resource has been created, you're just gonna jump onto keys and endpoint, because we'll be needing it in our application, right? Keys and endpoint. So you're gonna copy this and also the API onto our application. So back to Visual Studio, copy the code, already done the code, so just copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. So first thing that we did was put our using system.net HTTP, using system.text, using system.threading.tasks, and newsoft.json, because we're going to be outputting it in JSON basically. And then after that, we make our connection to our resource. So there's my subscription key that I've already added. You're simply going to add your own one once you create your resource, and also your endpoint. The endpoint stays the same, so you don't need to change that. And then after that, you're also going to have to add your location of your resource. So when choosing the region, I chose West Europe. So that's why my one here is written as West Europe, West Europe. And then after that, you start in the main method, writing the code. So the first thing is string root is equal to, so you're calling the API to translate from one language that you want to the other language. So basically translate API version is equal to 3 from English to Dutch or to German, and from the German to Italian. So this is the code. If you look carefully, this is the code that is used. The code that is used. Where is the code? Yeah, here's the code that is used. EN for English, and then DE for German, and IT for Italian, right? So that is the code that is being used. That is the code that is being used. That is the code that is being used. So that's the statement that declares that I want to translate this from that. And then the text that I want to translate is hello world. So that's the word that I want to translate, or the sentence I want to translate. And then I put it into my object that will be used to pass to Azure, and it's going to translate, it's going to send it back. So that's what it basically does, right? And then after it brings the results back, you're just going to output it. So now let's test it and see the results of this. Control F5, run it. Let's see the results. Let's see the results. Translation, right? It tells us translation text. So we said hello world was our sentence that we wanted to translate. So it's hello world in Dutch, in German, and then in Italian is salve mondo. I don't know how to pronounce it if I'm pronouncing correctly, but this is the translation. Basically created my own translation using Microsoft Azure, as you can see in console application. This is really cool, I have to say. I can even change the language that I change the language. If I go to the what to the list of supported languages, let's go back to it. The list of supported languages to exactly see what we can do. So, for example, I want Croatian, right? So I'm just gonna select HR. So if you go back to our code, we're gonna select HR in our code. So zoom it in a bit. We're gonna select HR. Back to Visual Studio. Right, back to Visual Studio. We're gonna select. So as you can see here, it says from English to German to Italian. So I'm gonna change this one to HR. So for Croatian, I'm translating to Croatian. Save my application and let's run it again and see the result of it. Right. And now let's look at the results. So now it's from in German is hello world, right? And then it tells us that it's in German. And then this one, I don't know how to pronounce it, Zadro Zavichtetre. I don't know if I pronounce it in Croatian, but there you go. It's been translated into the Croatian languages basically. So that's where I'll end it off for today's session, for today's episode of AI Tuesday. And from next week onwards, we're gonna be moving on to text translation and document translation, and hopefully touch on custom translation, customize our own translation. But here I've just shown you a small glimpse of what you can do with Microsoft Azure to translate text, basically, or the text translator on Microsoft Azure. So from the rest of the Inspire SA team um, and the folks this side, I hope you enjoy your afternoon and see you again for next week's episode. Peace.